You are my run game, my only run game. You make me happy when Teamu's hurt. You'll never know just how much I love you. Please, coach, keep the run game installed. You like that?
Wow, I do. I love the run game. I love the run game song. I think Coach Keiss will listen to this and hear that and
I think
continue running the ball for what, 200 plus yards yesterday?
18, I believe I wrote down. 218 rushing yards. Good job
In
on
a
the
loss.
run.
In a
Yeah,
loss.
like we were recording this time last week and I hated myself. I was miserable. I didn't even want to talk. But um, this week I feel pretty good. Like I'm not
Okay.
I feel okay. And for a lot of reasons, and we'll get into those reasons. But we are on the point of it's kind of like that meme where it says everything's fine and then the house is on fire around him. But
Quarterback's hurt. Four turnover game, back to back losses. But you feel good.
I feel good because Coach Keiss had to, in the moment, figure out how we were going to be successful or stay competitive in this game, and we pivoted and we
Came
were
down to the wire.
successful when it came down to the wire in the most beautiful UFL way possible, too, and we'll get into that too.
Yeah, it is wild. Like the chaos in the UFL game. Like the chaos is just different, I think, than it's more akin to college football, how chaotic a UFL game can be versus an NFL game. I think part of it is the crowds, part of it's the amount of access, but the other part is like who can thrive in the chaos. And both teams really kind of did. We just couldn't protect the ball quite enough.
Yeah,
The four turnovers versus Louisville's two turnovers is really what the game came down to. And there was a special teams play in there. We almost blocked the kick early on, which would have had that game tied up. Would have been interesting to see how chaotic overtime would have been
yeah.
with the hot and heavy Louisville Kings, man. Came out of nowhere. And now they're sitting in a play. Are they in a playoff position? If not, they're close.
They are. They are. We're gonna do a standings review at the end. Try to
Cool.
remind me because we definitely need to. The standings are
Been
a
shaken up
hot,
over the past
they're,
2 weeks.
they're a hot mess right now. I'm pretty sure everyone's in play except for Columbus. Like I think everyone's in play. I gotta look at that again. But anyway, let's hit it. Regular sequence here. We're gonna hit with the opening drive. The red eye sponsored by Together Skateboarding and Coffee. We're going to head into the film room with our game breakdown, then the lemon of the game, something that left a sour taste in our mouths, then the scouting report slash look ahead with Coach J's quintessential stock up, stock down, followed by the final whistle, the toot toot. All right, so opening drive, I wanted to keep it apropos, if you will. Yesterday, Coach J and I could not watch the game at kickoff, so I got off of social media and taped it and watched it intently when I got home. But Coach Jay was actually coaching the Philadelphia High School All Star game, public versus private, public versus non public. One of our beloved players, graduating players, Lemire Dogan, played in that. Um, so, Coach, I'm going to ask the question and then I'm going to ask you to elaborate on the game first. So you can stew on the question while we elaborate. So the question of the day, the opening drive, is who is a coachable player? Who is a coachable player that you've worked with that comes to mind when you think about that term? So you can stew on that. I know that our mutual answer would be Lemire Dogan. So talk to us about the game yesterday. I was in the stands. It was unnatural for me to be in the stands while you were on the field. It didn't feel right.
That's the first time, right? You've
Yeah.
never watched me from the sidelines.
No.
Yeah,
Weird.
so I will say coaching the All-Star game was a really cool opportunity. I'm super appreciative to Coach Royale Edwards, who's actually a top op for us over at Alden Reed with the Rockets. But it was really cool to be with his staff. I'm honored that he chose me to be on the All-Star game staff. Um, for that game, you have 10 practices squeezed into 3 weeks with players from schools that have been rivals their whole lives. And then they suddenly have to play on the same team. So every player and Coach Kais, who's come on this show, has talked about how important relationships are, and having to build those relationships enough in 10 practices during track season. So I missed, I think, 3 practices. Um, some players were also running track and missing, and end of the school year, field trips, proms, all that stuff kind of jammed into 3 weeks to get ready for an entire competitive game is tough. But we got it done. Um, it's very different coaching all-star games versus coaching at your own program. You don't have the history, you don't have the familiarity, and you don't have the time to really install. So it's a lot more chaotic. Um, but in that, it was cool to just see kids that are the best on their team. These are the best kids from each of the teams throughout the public league and the non-public league coming together for 48 minutes of beautiful high school football. Um, Coachability, I think it's huge to be able to. I think you know how coachable a person is almost immediately from your first interaction.
100%. That's a vibe check.
I got, I have that's the easiest. There's a few honorable mentions. Um,
I went by
Wiggins,
era for me. I went
yeah.
like early Vox, like Vox that I had left behind, and then Pencrest. I'm going to shout out 3.
So is this? I'm gonna give for the All Star game, and then I'll go back through for for. Are we talking all time coach most coachable
Yeah,
player?
like people close to you, not kids you met for 3 weeks.
Well, I do have to shout out one, Dimir Mackley. He's playing at West Virginia State HBCU down in West Virginia, obviously. Played defense for us, and most kids coming into an All Star game want to play offense. They want to touch the ball, they want to score points. But Dimir Mackley was all about defense.
What school is that? What school is he from?
Came out of George Washington.
Okay.
Yep. So George Washington alum, about to be a freshman at West Virginia State, and loves defense and is the most coachable kid. And I pulled his parents aside after the game yesterday. Made sure I made a point to go up to them and just tell them how good of a job they did with him. So good luck to him and all the other seniors that are going to be continuing their college careers, and good luck to those that are not going to be playing football and getting ready for the real world or college. Um, I I'm gonna let you go first because I'm still wrapped up in All Star game modes. I want to hear who you think, so I don't repeat any of your most coachables.
Yeah, I'll go. I'll just shout him out quickly. So early Vox, like when we founded it, first 2 years we didn't win a game. I think of number 55, Zion McDowell, someone who never put on a helmet or cleats his entire life until he was 16 or 17 years old, and taught him literally everything. Played every single play those 2 winless years. Those 2 winless senior seasons, the 0-6 and the 0-7, he played every single snap. Taught him how to long snap, and he did that on special teams. He played guard on offense, tackle if I needed him to, and then on defense played defensive end. For those 2 winless seasons, played every single snap at a time where kids were learning how to play football for the first time, and really, I mean, just to be honest, we're like legitimately tired for the first time ever in their lives. Like, not, oh, I'm going to go to sleep, like, oh, I can't breathe because I'm in the middle of a drive tired. Um, People would ask to come out, and not Zion. I'd be like, dude, I can't. We're a small team, and he would just thug it out. So Zion McDowell taught him how to play football, became a pretty dang good one. I wish I had him for one more year. It would have been awesome. Mid to my late in my tenure, Vox. I think of Aaron Kemp specifically because he was a tight end and a linebacker, outside linebacker for you. But I think of coachable in a way that I would show him something, and then he would implement it real time. And I think specifically of boxing out, when you're blocking on the perimeter, boxing out like basketball, right? To avoid a holding call and to give your ball carriers a chance to break the run. And he would look at me on the sideline. He would look at me on the sidelines right after he did it. There was a few touchdowns that are solely because of Aaron Kemp boxing out. And then the Pencrest era, I think of a kid, shout out Owen Lynch, um, number 70. It's just a really unique story. I don't know. I mean, I haven't really mentioned it much, but Jay, but my first formal coaching position as a defensive coordinator for a JV 8 and 9 year old team, I encountered a young 8 year old kid that I quickly put on the line named Owen Lynch, and I joke with him like, "Dude, you couldn't fart and chew bubblegum at the same time when I met you." And he has just become the epitome of stability and discipline and playing just hard nosed, fast, aggressive football at Pencrest. He played guard and defensive tackle. He also was a heck of a heavyweight wrestler for the Pencrest Lions, making me proud as an alum and as a coach. And he will be continuing his career at Gettysburg. So that's just a kid who will just take in whatever he can from whatever coach is with him in that moment. Um, and just seeing the growth that he made is really incredible. So Zion McDowell, Aaron Kemp, Owen Lynch, three coachable kids that come to mind.
I'll
And
give you three quick, and I'm going to keep this one brief. I'm going to say Eric Knight Lane, who played running back behind
okay.
maybe the worst offensive line of all time. Again, bunch of kids who had never played football before, having to trust guys who don't know what they're doing as football players while you're trying to run behind them. And we didn't have much choice but to try to run the ball pretty frequently. So yeah, tough kid, coachable kid, showed up every day asking questions about how to get better. That middle era, I'd say when you were still head coach, I would say I gotta say Samaj Pridgen for both. Similar to Aaron, where you can put him on the field, show him something, and let him go. I remember his first touchdown, like it was yesterday,
Oh
against
man,
Kip, our arch rival. Just this skinny, squirrely kid, real scrawny, but had wheels and had heart. And now I've actually got to see him grow and develop to the point that he won our school's first ever gold medal in District 12 track, and we'll be competing in states this week for two events: the 110 hurdles and the 300 hurdles, which is one of the nastiest races I've ever had to coach someone through. You're basically running almost a full lap and having to hop over hurdles at full speed, and that kid is really freaking great at it. From the coachability, from the athletic potential, and just the hard work and the grind and the discipline. Um, so yeah, those are mine. I gave the one for the All Star game in Mackley, and yeah, it's so important. Like it makes such a difference. Um, because a coach has a job to do, a player has a job to do, and that coachability makes both people's jobs so much easier. If you don't have to worry about trying to convince someone that you're giving them advice for their best, for their benefit, and they really buy in and they eat that up and they look for that, look to adopt and adapt, it makes it so much more fun to coach that person. And that's in anything.
you know I had to leave Pridgeon for you. I knew you would dial him up. I still remember the play call, trips left attack,
Yep.
Maj's first touchdown. Man, all right. So gonna be a little bit more not too deep on the history lesson this week, but something I've wanted to talk about for a few weeks because I feel like we just skipped over it and never really talked about it. So I wanted to go over what it looks like after a touchdown, like what makes the UFL different, right? So when you score a touchdown, the point after, you can go for one, two, or three. 1 point, right? A 33-yard field goal. Okay, that's your extra point. 2 point. That's a scrimmage play from the 2 yard line. So we're pretty standard there. 3 point. The 3 point play, a scrimmage play from the 8 yard line. Okay, and that's what we had to do. Like what kept me invested in that game is we were down nine. Every other version of football, with 2 minutes left, down nine, you're cooked. But I still had hope. Marching down the field, leaning on that run game, had that heavy package at the last second. DJ marches in, and we went for three to tie it up. And it was the right play call. The guy was open. I can't remember if it was Cornell Powell or Ty Scott, but he ran a curl route and he ended up kind of fading to the back of the end zone by his lonesome while Sanders was out of the pocket, and throw just wasn't quite good enough. But anyway, regardless, going for three or not, this is the rule for onside kicks because there are no onside kicks in the UFL. Why? Well, Dean Blandino and UFL execs have this the data allegedly that backs it up, right? That last year in the UF or in the NFL, 0.06% of onside kicks were successful. So why are we doing this play that never works? Let's do something different. So they started this 4th and 12 situation where if you are tied or trailing in the fourth quarter, if you are tied or losing in the fourth quarter, after you score, you can line up on your own 28-yard line and have a 4th and 12 situation where you have to reach the 40-yard line. Okay, so 4th and 12. This is for ball back. If you convert, you keep the ball and you keep the drive going. If you don't convert, if you don't get to the 40, the defense assumes control of the ball. The other team assumes control of the ball, has possession on offense facing the other way in your own territory. So Dean Blandino and the UFL believe that that this is able to be executed 13 to 15% of the time, make things a little bit more interesting compared to the 0.06%. 1 point, 33-yard field goal. 2 point scrimmage play from the 2-yard line. 3 point scrimmage play from the 8-yard line. And then if you're tied or trailing, you can hit the 4th and 12 from your own 28-yard line to get to the 40. If you get it, you keep it moving. If you don't get it, other team assumes control. That is the point after protocol in the UFL. We all learned something, I think.
It's a lot more fun, honestly. I think it's so much more fun to have, and it adds so much more strategy because you're right. Like 8 points is the limit of what you can score in a drive in the NFL. That ninth point makes all the games more competitive. Again, more chaotic. And the 4th and 12, like 99.4% of the time last year, an onside kick was failed. So maybe what, one or two were recovered all of last season. Especially with the rule that you can't run into the kickoff now. You got to start stationary. Um, the ability to convert that was already so low, and now it's much lower. So I think it's great, and I think that's again one of the things that makes this particular league, the UFL, so exciting. Is it's new enough, it's free enough that you can test things. It's almost like a science lab for the NFL, for football overall, to be able to try these new things like the 9 point drive and the 3 point conversion and the 4 point field goal and the 4th and 12 replacing the onside kick, like you mentioned. It makes this whole thing more dramatic, and I'm here for the dramatics.
And it definitely accomplished that yesterday, even though it was to our detriment, losing 33 to nothing, 33 nothing, 33 to 30.
33-30, 2 weeks in a row, man. The Kings killing
Yeah.
us.
I mean that leads. I'm just gonna take what you said because that's my feeling exactly. I'm gonna extract that for the Red Eye, sponsored by Together Skateboarding and Coffee, bringing coffee and community together in North Philadelphia. My Red Eye is just. I mean, you kind of mentioned it last week. You're like, Louisville is really not a team I want to see again. Like Chandler Rogers is just a ball player, and I'm just like, no, you're wrong. Blah 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 blah. They stink. Chandler Rogers stinks. This is just an anomaly. And they have our number, man. And they have our number, and it's taken me aback, and it's really hard to wrestle with. And all we had to do was win one out of our last 4 games to go to the playoffs, and we've lost 2 in a row to Louisville, and now we have 2 in a row against the best team in the UFL, besides us and the Orlando Storm. So thank you,
Getting
Louisville,
tight.
giving me my red eye. You've given me cause to be humbled, cause for me to take a step back, cause for me to eat my pride a little bit. That's my red eye. What do you got for me?
I got nothing. I'm perfectly right. I told you. My eyes are clear. I need no need for a red eye. I'm wide awake on how good the Kings can be when they're clicking. They've won 2 in a row against what was the number one team in the whole league, and now that number one team has fallen to three. DC has to get it together, and it's not an easy job to do now. If I think the one thing that might be the bright spot is that Orlando's already clinched the playoff spot. So they need one more win.
Ooh,
They need one more win. That 10th week, we might be playing for something they might not be.
you might
So
be
who
sitting.
knows? But there's
I didn't think about that.
Stallions are relevant. The Renegades are even relevant. The Gamblers. and the Kings all sitting behind us.
Everyone's in play except for the Aviators right now.
Tough for the Aviators. That's a tough break for the Aviators. But this
Yeah, I
is
mean,
this
there are
is really going to come down to Week
need to
10.
talk about that.
This is going to come down to Week 10. It's going to be a lot more exciting. I would have loved to have been in the Orlando Storm spot where we already had that
Yeah,
playoff
I thought we were just going to be
spot
one and two
clinched and we
seed.
could chill a little bit, but uh, we had what we didn't have. We had a QB injury for the first time, so QB change for the first time all season. Sanders came in and played well, and the run game was beautiful, but it's gonna hurt depending on how long Tiamu,
I'm
if he's
going to
missing any time.
talk more about that whole
So
ordeal.
yeah, I got no red eye.
Yeah. All right. Well, then, please, if you'll follow me into the film room, I got a quick four for you, and then if you want to play some pickleball, bounce it back and forth, or go on your own, please do. You mentioned it earlier, Jay. So my film room, here are my four takeaways. Takeaway number one: we were sloppy as hell again. Uh, Second week in a row, we had 9 penalties. Last week, it was 9 penalties for 81 yards, which, when you have 430 yards, not the worst in the world, but when you only have, well, 300 and change yards, but 200 of them were rushing, 9 penalties for 89 yards will shoot you in the foot. So 9 penalties 2 weeks in a row for the defenders. Two, even though, like you mentioned chaos earlier too, Jay, you're mentioning themes on point here. Even though it was a high scoring game, the defenses on both sides did a pretty good job of limiting damage. And I really enjoyed seeing the duel between Jamie Sharper and Blake Williams. So I want to highlight at the end of the first quarter. Um, and this is kind of something that's been bothering me too, but Coach Keiss will leave a tight end in for pass protection for matchup purposes. Riley Moore's hurt, so Mason Fairchild, our boy, friend of the pod, has been taking all the reps. But one problem I am having with Mason pass blocking is that I don't really think he's understanding gap protection. So let me give you an example. Mason Fairchild, he has a defensive end on him. And the defensive end, he's on the right side. The defensive end goes to his left, goes inside. Mason should be passing that defensive end that's slanting in off to the tackle and keeping his head up. Because what do? They bring the inside backer around. It was a stunt. They bring the outside backer around to Mason's right. But Mason was so fixated on looking and following that guy that was going inside, that pre-snap he would have thought was his job, that linebacker just went around and came in for the sack. So that was something I'm noticing in our pass protection game. We're losing our matchups because whether it's the backs or whether it's the tight end that's staying in for, in this case it's Mason staying in for an extra body, not understanding their true job, and it's allowing
I
pressure.
think that comes down to a lack of reps.
Yeah,
It's hard to get the time. Like I feel like the tight end room usually is in the passing concept, going out for routes. So a lot of the time they're not spending time
probably not even.
learning the pass protection. They're
Yeah,
usually with the offensive line for run game scheme, where they are more comfortable being a body and getting driving into a defense as opposed to having a so unnatural play an offensive line, having to catch, having to go backwards while someone's running to you or through you or around you. And the concept of trying to protect the inside feels right. It feels right, but it's hard to be able to do both if that's not your main thing. But yeah, it's something we got to get figured out if it's going to be part of the scheme. Because usually you have the tight end or the running back pick up, and right now it seems like neither one of them is working too
yeah,
well.
it's not looking good. I want to highlight Blake Williams, and it reminded me of you, Jay. So the defenders. So in the following drive, um, the Kings were in the red zone, and the defenders saw that it was empty. So empty meaning that the backfield's empty, and there's the max possible receivers, five, going out for passes. So knowing that there's no back in there to pick up a sixth man, uh, Blake blitzed both linebackers. So you have all four D linemen and two backers coming. They only had five people to block six, and Curtis Jacobs has a big sack there. And at that point, I believe they settled for a field goal. At that point, it was 13-7 toward the end of the first quarter, and no team had gotten a first down.
Yeah, wild.
So that was
20 points on the board and no first downs.
no first down. So that defensive chess was cool to see. It was a really, even though it's high scoring, it was actually a very interesting defensive game to watch.
Well, huge kick returns.
Yes.
Explosive kick returns that then for at least for yeah, for both teams really led to one touchdown by the Kings and then two great returns, I think to the 40 and one across the 50 for Valladay, setting up long touchdowns. Again, wild to see 20 points and zero first downs. Just unheard of.
So that, I mean, it was just a weird game. So one sloppy, two defensive chess, three, we touched on this a little bit. Spencer Sanders really keeping us in this game. At first glance, I was like, why is Spencer Sanders going out? Why is it not Jason Bean? Jason Bean was a starter 5 weeks ago. Like he could come in and be better than Spencer Sanders. But I didn't put enough respect on Spencer Sanders' name. He was very much a beacon of stability. Kept us in that game, delivered a few really nice passes, and managed the run game, and kept us around. I do want to highlight too, like he had a really accomplished college career. I didn't really do a deep dive on him. He started 43 games at Oklahoma State.
Wow, that's unheard of.
He started as a freshman. So he started at Oklahoma State as freshman, sophomore, junior, and senior year. Actually had a very good junior year where he led to Oklahoma State being they beat Notre Dame in the Fiesta Bowl and finished at fifth in the country. Senior year didn't go too hot. They were something around 500. And then he wants to challenge himself. He transfers to Ole Miss to compete for the starting job and got beat out by Jackson Dart.
Mm.
He ended up backing up Jackson Dart. He used his eligibility to try to pursue that, to challenge himself, and got beat out by Jackson Dart. But I mean, Spencer Sanders, talk about experience. Like, even though he didn't have much pro experience, I mean, 43 games.
43 games in college is a lot, especially with the transfer portal now. You're not having people start from freshman year all the way through very often. That's very impressive. Um, I think that's crazy too that he backed up Jackson Dart in his fifth year because say that QB battle goes differently, Spencer Sanders might be on the New York Giants instead of backing up in DC. It's a wild turn of events, and I think that's what the craziest thing is. Like when you dive into the stories of how people get to the UFL, is it an injury? Is it you lost a starting spot? Is it you were just a tick slower or a tick weaker than the person above you? I feel like sometimes the differences are such small splits that end up having huge reverberations into what happens to your football career.
I
It's
mean,
crazy.
I was really impressed to see the extent of his college experience. So
Yeah,
now it has me feeling a little bit more optimistic. I mean, Spencer Sanders has played in stadiums of 105,000 people regularly as an 18-year-old kid through a 22-year-old young man. I think he can handle between 10 and 15,000
yeah, for sure.
people. So I actually, well, I mean, as of now, we haven't heard back on Teyana's MRI on Sunday, but I like the idea of game planning with him. I think he's capable. And then my fourth takeaway: so sloppy, the defensive chess, Spencer Sanders keeping us relevant, keeping it competitive, and then four, just like this overarching feeling of not feeling like it's a total loss. I don't want to call it a moral victory or whatever, but just this idea that we had to pivot to the run game, and we did, and we really saw the first piecing together of a run game package that looked good and felt good and worked since those early games in probably about a month.
Yeah,
Valladay was snapping.
my guy.
Took a little bit of a backseat today, just because of how well Abram Smith and Valladay ran. I mean, that Abram Smith touchdown run. I mean, that's seeing that in slow motion was awesome. That spin move,
Yeah,
bouncing off tackles. So the run game, I'm just leaving away optimistic that we can lean on that.
It's gonna be very important, especially if we're gonna be going with our backup Sanders. Um, as well as he played, as well as he managed the game, he's not Teamu. Um, and I think that we got really comfortable with what we're able to do with the passing game. Again, he's on average hitting 7 different targets in a game. He's hitting the middle of the field, deep outs. He's quick with the ball and accurate. I don't know if we can bank on Spencer Sanders doing that full complement of passing game. So we're gonna have to be able to lean on the run game and validate with the returns and the rushing game. It's just was unleashed yesterday. So we got to keep that going, uh, especially depending on what this MRI says. Got to be able to run the ball.
Do you have anything you wanted to bring up in the film room?
We got to protect the ball. We out gained them. We had explosives left and right, but we just didn't protect the ball, and that's what the difference of the game was. You have to be. We had 4 turnovers to the Kings 2, and we had an opportunity to block a kick when it was I think their 17th point. We had a chance to block that kick, and we were right there. The special teams were definitely special yesterday with the returns, but that was a missed opportunity to get that block. Um, I would say we have to protect the ball. That's it. That's my biggest takeaway because everything else was cool. The defense was competitive. The defense was making plays, but when you put the defense in a bad spot because of turnovers, a bend don't break defense, it's eventually going to break. It's going to break for 33 total points because they were playing too much. You don't want your defense on the field if they don't have to be. You want to
Playing
try to
on
be
our own
scoring,
side of the
especially
field.
when you're running the ball like that. If you can run the ball the way we did for 200 plus yards, you have to eliminate the turnovers to be able to close out a game like that.
Lemon of the game. I mean, the sloppiness, but I already mentioned that. Really, just the whole Teamu situation, and I think specifically too is like you saw him hobbled, and it didn't feel good. But then when he literally collapsed while he was walking off the field, I mean, when it's the non-contact stuff, that's even scarier sometimes. Uh, so seeing that, obviously tragic for our playoff hopes, and also a guy that has just become really connected and tethered to the Defenders fan base. I mean, this has been our quarterback since the relaunch without any wavering. We've had the most consistent quarterback room since the XFL came back in 23, and he's been the guy. So I think even though it hurts us as a football team, I think seeing him hurt, like honestly, symbolically
Yeah,
hurts too. You don't want to see anybody get hurt, but seeing Jordan Tamu get hurt.
especially with the way he's been playing and the amount of buzz he's been able to generate for potentially getting back to the NFL. I think that to me is the saddest part. Obviously, as a DC Defenders fan, it hurts seeing your quarterback go down, but seeing a guy who has been a career tweener between the spring football leagues and the NFL, it's just tough because the way he was playing from last year and having the MVP last season, the championship last season, and being as hot as he had the offense going this year, I wouldn't have been surprised if he was at least in a camp come July. So I hope it's not anything serious. And if it is, I wish him the speediest recovery, healthiest recovery possible. But man, he really developed into one of those fringe roster guys who can go back and forth and have success, obviously in the UFL, but also be able to push for a spot in the NFL. So, Teamu, hoping that's not anything too serious. And if it is, that you make a full recovery with the people in the building, helping you get that recovery.
Preach. What's your lemon?
Even outside of the sport, man, it's I feel like even for these guys, it's even more heart wrenching to go
Yeah.
down to an injury because you're doing this for a smaller bag. You're not getting as much money. and you're still expected to put your body on the line the same way as the big dogs in the NFL with those huge contracts. So heart goes out to you, kid. My lemon of the game is the way that the Spencer stepped up. I think that's a lemon that's turned to lemonade. I always like to turn my lemon into lemonade. I think the way that he showed he can lead the offense, understand the offense, make the right plays, make the right decisions for the most part, because there were some things that need to be cleaned up. But to be able to just be thrown in there and a game that we played the Kings 2 times in a row. Last game was 30-13. We didn't have anything going. Those 13 points came towards the end. There were full quarters, full stretches of the game where we just couldn't do anything on offense. And I know we had the 200 plus rushing yards, but he's a part of that still. So my lemonade is that I think we're going to be okay regardless of who's back there. We just have to come up with the game plan and execute the game plan and protect the ball. And I still think this team has enough firepower on the offensive side with the offensive line, all the receivers, and all that speed. And our run game was on display yesterday. Plus, we have a dominant defense. I know the scoreboard does not suggest that. The scoreboard doesn't show dominance of defense on either side, but we have the horses. We've got all the players that we need. We all we need. That's what we always say. So it's next man up, and that's the lemonade right there.
All right. I'm off the top of our head. What's stock up? Run game for me. Stock down. Confidence rolling into playoffs.
Stock down, down, down. It's crashing.
Just confidence. Stock down. Confidence. Swagger.
Yeah.
Uh, and then fraud watch. Ooh. I don't really have a fraud watch. You got one to help me out? I mean,
You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna try to get Audi rowdy and say home field is fraud watch. I know this game was in Louisville, but we have dropped what, two at home or one at home? Just the one to the Kings last week. I'm gonna say fraud watch off of our last home game being a loss. It's just a watch. I'm not calling Audi a fraud. I still think it's the greatest home field advantage in the UFL. But we have the
Louisville.
storm. When the storm comes to town, we need to make sure that it's loud, it's rowdy, and it's jumping off and Audi. It has to. We got to get our get back. We got to get back on track. Fraud watch goes to the home field in DC. Not saying it's fraudulent, but we got to watch out.
Mm. All right. I'm in on that.
I'll take the same stock up and stock down as you. The run
Ditto.
game was beautiful.
Ditto. Man, it was so good. All right. Let's go to the look ahead. So I told myself I wouldn't overdo it today, and then I ended up.
Then you overdid it.
But I got some good stuff though. All right. I'm going to split this up by offensive threats, defensive threats, and coaching staff context. All right. So the Orlando Storm, who we play Friday night at 8:00. Quarterback.
And the following week, week 10.
Yes, and the following week. Quarterback, Jack Plummer, not related to Jake Plummer.
Jake the Snake, legend.
I repeat, not related to Jake Plummer. Okay, Jack Plummer has been kind of the only other beacon of consistency at quarterback in the UFL. He has 1,710 passing yards, 12 touchdowns, and here's the kicker for me, 1 interception all year.
Wow.
So he protects the ball. He was at Purdue, then he was at Cal, then he was at Louisville. So a good amount of experience there. Just couldn't make it work at Purdue. Then went to Cal and then Louisville. And then he was on the practice squad for the Panthers. And then sat a year in free agency and then was picked up by the Orlando Storm. The running back room, Jay-Sean Corbin's their running back. He was the UFL's leading rusher for last year when he played for the San Antonio Brahmas. But he only averages 3.4 yards a carry this year. That has not been the name of their game this year, not running the ball. So, I wouldn't call that a threat, even though, I do want you guys to know that he was really good last year. and still poses a threat. But they love throwing the ball straight up, and they have
Yeah.
really great and balanced threats to do that. Elijah Badger is a big play receiver. Averaged 20 yards a catch at Florida. Was on the practice squad for the Chiefs, and now he's on the Orlando Storm. He's their leading receiver. Chris Rowland is a name that should be familiar. He was a Tennessee State just ball player. His senior year, over 100 catches, over 1,000 yards. He was a returner. He should be a name that sounds familiar because he is a straight up DC Defenders legend. He was our kick returner. He was our big play guy. And what I think is interesting too is that he was coached by Shannon Harris. When Shannon Harris was
Oh,
coaching at Tennessee State, he had Chris Rowland. So now I know where that connection comes from, and obviously him being picked up by Shannon when he was with the Defenders. Here's a name that I think you'll recognize, Jay. KJ Hamler,
yeah.
Penn State, a second
Yep.
round pick in the 2020 draft by the Denver Broncos. Finished out his contract with the Broncos, faded off, and is now with the Orlando Storm. So still a big play threat here. So that receiving room is pretty stacked. Defensive threats. Their defensive line in total. Their four main defensive linemen collectively have had 27 tackles for loss and 11 and a half sacks between number 52 Banks, number 97 Mack, number 96 Bugs, and number 0 Payne. They are a huge threat. So, we talked about how I'm concerned about how we are accommodating for blitzes and stunts. If we aren't communicating with our blitzes and stunts, this D line will make us pay, or they will make us accommodate for them, and then the backers will come in free. So those are my offensive and defensive threats. And then lastly, the coaching staff is interesting. Anthony Becht, I think I saw a graphic, so 23, 24, 25. So he's the only head coach to have made the UFL playoffs, formerly XFL, all 4 years. He was the founding head coach of the relaunched Seattle Blackhawks. So what do they say? A wolf in sheep's clothing? Don't let Anthony Becht's orange and purple fool you. He is a Blackhawk from that place in Seattle through and through, and we should treat him as such.
Yeah, we have to. It's
If
got to
we
be
have,
done.
it has to be done. Him and his right hand man, defensive coordinator Donnie Abraham. Uh, I feel like I'm reading these names that I played with on Madden when I was a kid. So Anthony Becht was an 11-year pro, actually from Delaware County, outside of Philadelphia, suburban Philly guy. Anthony Becht played for the New York Jets. Fun fact: from 2000 to 2010, he played 150 consecutive games. During that span, he trailed only Brett Favre and Peyton Manning. Anthony Becht.
Wow.
So his assistants on offense, the run game coordinator is Mark Colombo, a 9-year vet, 6'7" tackle, huge for the Dallas Cowboys, and the passing game coordinator, a Temple Owl,
Go Owls.
Colin Thompson. Colin Thompson was a Temple Owl. He played for the Panthers during the bubble season. He's from Southeastern PA as well. I've actually crossed paths with him when he was Not For Long Media, I think was his media company, his podcasting and Instagram profile that he was trying to launch here. We collaborated on some things, and he's an awesome dude. So when I was doing this, scouting report, and I see Colin Thompson's face in there, I'm like, oh, that's really cool. He
Look at
coached,
that humble flex, Coach Mars.
little humble flex. No, it's really just showing how involved and plugged in and good of a person he was to even deal with me. But anyway, Colin Thompson, passing game coordinator, shout out to him. And then I told you about Donnie Abraham, the defensive coordinator, who's a Pro Bowl DB for the Bucks and the Jets, and again was that right hand man, the defense. So Becht offensive mind, Abraham defensive mind. They were the power duo at that team in Seattle, the freaking stinking Blackhawks. So don't let these Orlando Storm fool you. This is a relaunch. This is a, what do they call it? Expansion just of the Blackhawks
Black
Southeast.
Hawk South.
That's what
Yeah.
they are. And we need to treat them as such. And if that gives you some more juice than you already have, that is my look ahead. Jack
Top
Plummer,
ops.
Jason Corbin, Eli Badger, Chris Rowland, and KJ Hamler, the Storm defensive line, and that coaching staff that has a lot of NFL experience. But don't get it twisted. They are Blackhawks at their core, and we will treat them as such in our path back to the playoffs.
Playing some good ball. Only team who's clinched thus far. Only quarterback who is on the level of Jordan Teyama. Defense that gets after it, and a team that protects the football. It's going to be a tough matchup. We got to come correct.
Yeah, I'm actually.
Friday night, 8 p.m.
Mm. Do you want to do player? Do we player the game after the final whistle?
Nah, why would we do anything after the final whistle?
You're right. That'd be what. Okay. So real quick, player of the game for me is Derek Roberson, and I want to use this as I don't want to. I don't want to preach. I don't, but I do want to use
Love
this
to
as an
preach.
example. I do love to preach. Give me my soapbox. You got that soapbox for me, Jay? Set it up for me,
Stepped
please.
up. You're on it. Go.
Yeah, thanks. Player of the game, Derek Roberson, had sack and a tackle for loss, and again, I just love watching him play no matter what. If the ball is going the other way, he just takes it out on the tackles. Um, but here's the thing: you talked about how Derek Roberson's the heel of the UFL. Derek Roberson's an absolutely vicious, bad man with the helmet and pads on during the whistle, during the play, until the echo of the whistle. And we have a D lineman that keeps doing stuff after the whistle, and it's
Big
driving
Joe.
crazy. How do you didn't? I didn't even need to say it.
Big Joe.
Joe
I think
Wallace.
he's just so big he can't stop himself. He's
He
like a freight train.
he's getting too active, whether it's in the pursuit drill, whether it's in the scrum, which I love that old school scrum for a fumble. I don't even know if he was involved in that, but just even stuff that doesn't have anything to do with him. He's talking, or he's being animated. Like Derek Roberson handles his freaking business and is perceived as an absolute monster in the heel of the UFL for just what he does between the echoes of the whistles. And I admire the hell out of that. Joe Wallace, you're a great player. You're a captain on this team. Stop with the extracurricular bullshit.
Ooh, was that a swear from Coach Marsden? He's
I'm,
fired up, y'all.
I just keep seeing it, and it's driving me nuts. So Derek Roberson, also Curtis Jacobs. Curtis Jacobs had a great game. I believe number 40, turnover machine, flying around from the backer position. So Derek Roberson, Curtis Jacobs, players of the game. Joe Wallace, I love you, but stop doing extra.
My DC defender of the game is easy. My guy, number 24, Valladay.
Yep, there you
Getting
go.
active on the special teams. Two explosive kick returns in one game, and he contributed over 100 yards to our total of 200 plus on the ground. Uh, One touchdown, set us up for great field position multiple times from the kick returns, and was toting the rock, protecting the ball. Great job by Valladay. Bring it again next week because we're gonna need it. We're gonna need it. We're gonna need every one of those rushing yards we can get, every rushing touchdown, and we need that field position. So keep bringing it, big fella.
Friday night, 8 p.m. against Blackhawk South. That's what we're going to call them now. Here, Seattle South.
Blackout South is great. I love that.
Look at that against
Oh man.
the
We
Seattle.
took we took a made up team name that we use as disrespect and attached it to a second
And now we disrespect
franchise.
officially 25% of the UFL.
I love it. I love it. And one other point, now that we're talking percentages, we're coming up on week 9. So we're 90% of the way through this league season. And I think it makes another thing that's so chaotic, right? Like one game is 10% of your
Yeah,
schedule,
yeah.
right? That's more akin not even to college football. That's more akin to high school football.
Mm-hmm.
Two losses is 20%. Three losses, you're at 70.
2% is gratuity. Th-
In the NFL, they want to keep adding
shampoo.
games, keep adding games in the NFL. Games don't mean as much. Each regular season game means a little bit less. It's a difference of 10% for the UFL is one game. In the NFL, it's 117th, 5.7,
Don't get too
5
crazy
point.
with the math here, Jay. Come on now.
It's about 6. It's a little less than 6%
Take your word
of
for
the
it.
season. Check me. Check me.
I don't want to. I'm not going to. Anyway,
Listeners, check me
I
out.
think that's a conversation for the future. I think 10 games. I think this 10 game model is perfect. You don't want to get these guys beat up before they're pursuing their NFL dreams, and we also don't want to exhaust the thirst and the hunger for football. I think the
Yeah,
10 game model is good,
I
but we
think
can
10
talk
game
about
is
that
great.
more. All right, what do we got next, Coach Jay? The final.
The final whistle. The final whistle.
Toot, 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 toot. All right, I'll stop. So I have to before I go. That was organic too. That was nice. Before I get into this, I just had a final thought while I was doing my scouting report, and I needed to say it out loud. So the Blackhawks South team in Orlando, they have 3 players on their team that have names that you would think that they either are or are related to someone famous, and they're not. So we obviously know Jack Plummer, not related to Jake Plummer. They also have a Jason Taylor the second, which is not who's not related to Jason Taylor. And then my favorite, that's a safety, and then or he's a safety, I shouldn't say. And then Lamar Jackson. They have a cornerback named Lamar Jackson, who is
Not to be confused with
not to be
Lamar
confused
Jackson.
with Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson. So
You
anyway,
never know. Like, what if Lamar Jackson was just in the offseason playing some spring
played
cornerback?
for Blackhawk South
I could
in
see it. I
Orlando,
could see it.
being a snake.
I don't think the Ravens would be too happy, but
Snake
he's
and
got the athleticism
he's
for
like,
it.
let me play DB and for the Hawks South.
To understand the defensive back position
Yeah,
is
maybe it's just
brilliant.
ball
I think it's
knowledge.
genius.
Okay.
I'll hit up Mama Jackson. You know, she's his agent. I'll pitch it.
He does just enough so he can be a backup, so he's not really getting hurt in the games, but he's like getting good looks in practice. Okay.
Yeah,
All
I'm
right.
into it.
All right. This final whistle I think is gonna I think it's a little bit harder for me than you. Or no, it's yeah, yeah. I think it's easier for you than me when I break it down for you, but I'm gonna ask you to come up with your fifth. Um I don't know where I heard this, but like the voices you've heard. That's my final whistle. The voices you have heard in your life. Which voices, if you had to make a Mount Rushmore of the voices you, Jordan Holbert, or you as an individual listener have heard in your life, who would be the Mount Rushmore of voices you've heard? Now, I'll say like my first 3 real quick, and I can imagine you'd have your first 4. Yeah, no, your first 4 are easy too. So my mom, obviously, my dad, uh, my wife Shelby. Those are my those would be my easy first 3. For my fourth, I have a couple thoughts. I think Jordan, I do think that because of the 6 years in close collaboration and now with this podcast, I do think you might be in contention for the
Oh,
fourth.
wow.
You're one of them. You're like my Mount Rushmore of possible fourth place on the Mount Rushmore. But hear me out. I think Kid Cudi could be that fourth person.
Love that answer. Did I ever tell you that Cuddy was the first concert I ever went to?
No, but I'm going on June 2nd. You want to
Good
come?
for you. What a performance.
Yeah, I'm excited for it. And then my other one is Elliot Shore Parks, who is an Eagles beat reporter, and
That's a good one.
he has a daily podcast plus his biweekly podcast, like 2 podcasts a week. So I listen to both of the podcasts that come out a week, and then I listen to his daily podcast.
Mm,
So I think like as far as voices that I've heard, that I have consumed, that have gone into my brain, I think it might be you, it might be Elliot Shore Parks, it might be Kid Cudi. Um, those are in contention for the outside the box voices that I've heard the most in the world.
those are great company to be in. Elliot Shore Parks and Kid Cudi and your parents. I'll take that. This is pretty easy. Ironically, this is pretty easy. Surprisingly, not ironically. Number one is my grandmother.
Ooh,
Rubielle Martin has the most iconic voice. Smooth southern drawl, but she's been in in the north for since 1955 is when she moved up north. But she has a way about her. She talks slow, but it's like it grabs you. It makes you want to listen. So she's number one. Number two, on the other side of the family, my uncle Donnie. He's got this crazy fast pitch cadence to his voice, He's always loud. He's always on 10. He can be talking about something boring like taxes, but he's on 10 about it. He has a way with language that's just so entertaining. He pops, he brings you in, he gets you out, and I love the way that I just talked to him for decades. Number three is Morgan Freeman. I could listen to Morgan Freeman talk about chopsticks or anything else in the world and have a great time doing it. Number four, another Eagles voice, Sheil Kapadia. You familiar with Sheil?
Yes, yes, yes.
Former beat writer, now Philly special on the Ringer. Um, Listen to him at least 3 times a week between the NFL Ringer show and the Philly special. And number five, I would honestly probably say my niece.
Now, to be clear, these are the voices that you believe. Like, if you had to put minutes
Of
in
time.
of time,
Ooh, all right. Well,
would you would you
no, I'm standing on it. They all stand. My parents and my wife would be in there, but
yeah,
those
okay.
are easy. I'm just repeating you at that point.
Because I'm like,
But yeah,
Morgan Freeman got me a little bit. Well, I mean, I could
nah, no, stop. Stand by. Lean on Me,
10,
Seven,
10.
Wanted. Then I've seen every movie. I have seen every Morgan Freeman movie except that one where he was an old guy, where he was actually an old guy with the other old guys. I didn't see that one, but almost every other Morgan Freeman movie I've seen.
Is it crazy? I know exactly what old people movie you're talking
Yeah, with Robert. What's Robert's name?
about. De Niro.
Robert De Niro and the other old guy.
Yeah, that now I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. All right. So I've got a final whistle for today. Came prepared, came correct, and this one is football related. All right. I've been real into aliens. You into aliens?
Yeah, we were just talking about aliens. I mean,
You
I
believe in aliens? Your dad is an alien guy, no?
no. My college roommate, one of my best friends, Ethan. Shout out number 51, Ethan Rayner. He is a uh, best man in my wedding, and vice versa. He's a big aliens guy. Well, he's a
Okay.
big conspiracy theorist in general. He'll listen to
Love
this.
it. Love it. We got to bring him on one time, or have
Yeah,
him send us his favorite conspiracy theory right now. However, aliens are past conspiracy theories. They're out there. If the aliens landed tomorrow and they demanded not to meet our person, our leader, because I think we're screwed on that. But if the aliens landed tomorrow and demanded one piece of football culture to understand humanity, what are you going to show
is this a softball to send him to Audi Field for the for
them?
this game? Um, dude, you know what I would show him? I would show him either the Patriots come back over the Falcons or the 41-33 Eagles over the Patriots Super Bowl.
Okay.
Games I think would probably be what I would show them. Or maybe just like us at the Super Bowl parade. Just bring them along.
That was my answer. That was my answer. Doug, I would go to the moment where I'm in the tree and the buses are going by and I'm dressed as Spider-Man and I'm lit off my behind and I'm having the best day of my life and I'm screaming about it to Saquon and to Coop and to Quinion, looking at them eye level because they're in
Confused
a
with
double
Ty
decker
Scott.
bus. I'm in a
Not,
tree.
not to be
Wonderful day.
confused with Ty Scott, our own DC Spider Man.
DC Spider-Man.
Your Philly
Yeah,
Spider Man is right here in front of you, Jordan Holbert, Coach J.
that's the final whistle, 2-2. You got
All
any
right.
last minute things? We got game Friday night, 8 p.m. And we
Standings.
have to get back on track.
All right. So we have the Orlando Storm in first place at 6-2. The Battlehawks, us at 5 wins. The Kings at 4 wins. The Stallions and Renegades and Gamblers at 3 wins. The Aviators at 2. So basically, the magic number is 6. If if the Kings, us, or the Battlehawks can get to 6 wins, that ensures us a playoff berth. What gets messy is that these other teams can get to 5. And if us, oh my God, can you believe I just said their real name? The freaking stinking Blackhawks at 5 wins, sorry. If the Blackhawks, us, the Kings, let's just say all of the above can end up all at 5 wins, it gets really muddy. I don't even know what the tiebreaker is. Maybe I'll look into that and I can get back for the next.
Yeah, we should be prepared to talk about tiebreakers for next
Yeah,
week.
if Friday doesn't go our way, we should be. I'll get prepared to talk
I
tiebreakers.
mean,
But
honestly, even if it does, because there's depending on if Dallas wins, yeah, it could be really really messy and interesting for the final fourth spot. So that's on your history teacher list to do. Get us ready for that.
Yeah. Well, I got to finish. I got to do World War II this week, dude. Once state testing starts, it gets crazy. I'll
It's
try.
World War II. It's been the same lesson since World War II
World
happened.
War II is an actual movie, though. Like, it's an actual Avengers, good and evil. I don't like to cut it short. I love,
You don't cut anything short.
I tell them what happened and I show them the receipts, and it's awesome.
All right.
Anyway,
Looking forward to next week. Looking forward to Friday night. Until then, shields up, mics down. Peace.
mic drop.